Okay, this video gets me excited because we're going to be speaking about live camera cues. And live cameras have completely changed everything about how I perform my shows, because there is not a single performance that I do in any venue that I do not use a live camera. I can use live cameras for anything for close-up magic to just doing some IMAG stuff, which is image magnification. So if I just want my face to be nice and big on a screen on the sides, I can do that as well. In many cases, or in some cases, I use the cameras only to magnify props on my stage. So people in the back of the audience can see the effect that I'm doing while standing up, and which can normally be done without a camera. There's no need for it. But what I do is sometimes I project it onto multiple surfaces, creating this great visual on the entire stage rather than just having me perform a trick right in front of the audience on a table where the people in the back see the image to be about that big and the people in the front see it about a 4-foot prop. Well, now the prop is 30 feet big and it just looks really cool. If I make my wife vanish in a prop, sometimes I'll do like a 3-second clip of a live camera that will show that it's straight through the prop and they can see themselves in the audience, proving there's no mirror and that kind of stuff. So there's just so many cool ways to use live cameras in the show. But you're going to need some actual gear. If you just want to test out live camera, you don't need anything, because Qlab automatically connects to your FaceTime camera in your computer. So because your FaceTime camera is built into your screen, it's automatically always connected, and Qlab will recognize that automatically. So you can test your camera cue immediately using your FaceTime camera. But if you want to hook up an actual physical camera, I actually have these two cameras right here next to me, but I'd use multiple cameras for my show. This is just a really cheap camera. I go through cameras a lot. They break them on the airlines a lot. So about every year I'm buying a new camera of sorts. This is just a Canon HD. It's called Vixia HFR700. By the time you watch this video, this will probably be no longer available. But it's just a really simple camera that it has an HDMI out. Now for years I used BNC. Which was, in my case, standard definition. I'm not going to be speaking about using anything standard definition because I'm sorry, that is old school. And even if you're using VGA projectors, still use HDMI cameras because your quality will still be better than VGA. I had VGA and BNC cables for a long time, and I thought there was no reason for me to go to HDMI because the projector I was using from the venue was only VGA, so what's the point in having high quality? You know what? It made a huge difference. When I finally went over to HDMI and ended up going back to that venue, I could not believe the quality that had changed because I was presenting it at a much higher quality, even though it was being downscaled to 800 by 600 in VGA. The HDMI cameras just look so much better. Really, really a huge difference. So I'm not even going to speak about those old cameras, old technology. I want you to go over to HDMI. It's affordable, it's better quality, and it's just going to be it's what everybody's using now anyway. So we're going to be using some connecting devices to get these to your computer, connect to your computer. You have two options that I'm using. There's a million more options, but the two options that I'm using is kind of the industry standard when it comes to conversions. Almost every good high quality venue that I go to that uses a converter of some sort is going to be using a Blackmagic. Blackmagic makes everything video. Seriously, look them up online. From cameras to converters to monitors, they make it all. They're a little bit on the pricey side, but you really get a high quality product. Once again, I do not get sponsored by these companies. I'm just telling you my own personal preference and what I see in the industry, and Blackmagic is fantastic, and I would suggest going with Blackmagic converters. However, Charles Peacock hooked me up to this little guy. This is called a Magwell USB capture device, and it's USB. Yes, you heard me correctly. USB. So a USB to HDMI is just great, and this thing is super light and super small. It gets super hot. Actually, both of them do. Both of them get hot, so I would suggest when you use them, make sure you put them in an area where they can breathe a little bit because they do get hot, which is just totally normal for them. But anyway, this one just uses a this cable right here, this Thunder lightning plug, sorry. I'm not even sure what I'm saying anymore. Anyway, it's that plug. I'm tired. And you plug this in, except I have a MacBook Pro. So I call it the Dongle Book Pro, right? So in order for me to use it, this is the dongle that I need to use to connect this to the Dongle Book Pro. So there's another 60 some bucks you need to buy just to use the actual Ultra Studio mini recorder. And that's what this is called. This is called the Ultra Studio mini recorder. Both of these devices can be found with links on my website for you to go there and buy them directly. I do not sell them, but I do have the direct links on my website. And this one requires this setup to be plugged in, and then what you do is you get your live camera, and this is the camera I'm using at the moment. It's a really basic camera, nothing too expensive because they get a lot of abuse, and all I need is basic HDMI anyway. So this is a Canon. It has a 57 times zoom, which I don't obviously ever use that, and it has an HDMI out. You need to make sure you have an HDMI out. I think I paid like 300 bucks for this, really affordable. I don't even have a battery on mine anymore because I plug it directly into power. Always use power. Use your batteries in addition if you want to, that's fine, but never run a show without power. I've had that happen before in rehearsals, and once in a live show that wasn't my fault, it was somebody else's camera, but he refused to bring the plug, said, oh no, the battery will last forever, died right in the middle of the show. Just take 2 more seconds, run a cable, have power. It's going to be so much more beneficial. Unless you're going to use something where you're walking into the audience and you didn't want to have an extra power adapter, but make sure you plug it in as soon as you're done. So an HDMI is going to go out, and then you're going to obviously grab into this or into your Blackmagic, and then from that you're going to get to your USB, which plugs into your MacBook Pro or your Mac, whatever, Mac Pro, whatever it is. Once you get that connected, you're going to go into your settings, and you're going to go, oh, I can't see that now. You're going to go into video. Once you're in video, you're going to see camera patch 1 through 8. That's right, you can connect up to 8 different cameras simultaneously. This is so cool. Now, camera patch 1 almost always will already have FaceTime HD camera ready to go because that is your camera. Now, I'm not going to plug these actual devices in for you today because you obviously know what's going to happen. So we're going to use the FaceTime camera because it's already connected. So we're going to put camera patch number 1 as FaceTime HD camera. All right, we're going to hit done. We're going to drag the camera cue, which is also Command 4, right down there like that. We're going to delete the old camera cue. We don't need that. And we're going to go to display and geometry and make sure that that is connected to the correct video surface, which in most cases, if you haven't set up your templates, when it comes in, it's going to have no surface and you need to connect that manually. We're going to speak about templates a lot later on because I think if you set up your templates, no matter what you do, it's going to be a lot of work is going to be done ahead of time. So that's going to save you a lot of work. So we'll speak about that next, hopefully. But we're going to focus on this camera cue. And to do that, we are going to make sure that the camera cue is on patch number 1. And it says the camera you want or the device you want, your video surface, and then your mode is full surface, and then the same thing, your preserve aspect ratio is either switched on or off. When I fire that, hey, now the reason it took some time to see me was not because of Qlab. It was because of the fact that the FaceTime camera was not turned on. And I'm sure there's a way to send a script to tell FaceTime to turn on in advance. Oh, you could do that. I'll show you in a second how to do that. So check this out. So our camera is now working. As you can see, my FaceTime camera is right there on the computer screen. Now we can actually go here and do a custom geometry, and we can show what size we want that. So if I wanted to zoom right in, I could move this around and just do a headshot like this, okay? Obviously, I'm punishing all of you with that zoomed in look, so I'm gonna zoom way out. Everything I showed you in animation, as far as the spinning newspaper effect, as far as the special effects or video effects, All that stuff can be applied to camera cues also. So if you want to go in here and you want to apply an effect to do a black and white, you could go down here and go to saturation, and now you have a black and white effect. I actually do a routine that's history based with a live camera, and the first 30 or 40 seconds of the routine, the camera is in black and white with some kind of like grainy imagery. And then as the routine goes on, over like, I don't know, about a minute, I think it fades out to full color, but very gradually, which just looks really cool because it stays the theme of being old fashioned. Can turn that off, of course. Now, as you can see, there is a millisecond or two delay with that, and the more converters, the more adapters, the more things you do, there is going to be a slight millisecond delay with that. It used to be really, really bad. It used to be like almost a second, at least it felt like a second, but now it's super, super fast. I don't know if any way of changing that and improving it at all, but look, we're directly in the computer and there's still just a slight delay. I mean, barely. Put it this way, when I blink, I can see my blink, but only how fast is a human blink? It's pretty damn quick. I'm sure I could Google that and put that here, but I don't have time for that. But anyway, but you don't really notice it in the show, especially you're watching me and the camera at the same time. That's not going to happen in the show. The audience is going to watch the camera or you. They can't really see, they can't put their eyes on both places. So they're not going to notice that millisecond difference. The cool thing is, you can once again layer your videos. So if I play this on top, my background is all the way there, my camera's in between, and this is around, which means, it's gonna stop that song, which means you could actually take that logo and you could enlarge that logo, or let's say it was a square, and you could actually border your own camera cue with that square, which would look like you have a frame, like a picture frame around the camera cue. Once again, you can pretty much create nearly anything your imagination comes up with if you know how to use the software. So there's a lot of possibilities. We're going to go here and get rid of the logo and show you how you can, once again, adjust the camera's size. You could also do your rotation. Zoom this up more. Here we go. Could do you could spin it at an angle, so you could have look like somebody's watching you on screen there, and of course you have your spin angle, which means you could actually turn your camera sideways and do a vertical shot here as well by turning the camera later, which would give you like an iPhone effect, right? And speaking about iPhones, there is an app where it allows you to do wireless, that's right, wireless cameras. I'll be totally honest, I don't trust them. I've had them go out in the past, and 99% of the time it's not the camera's fault, it is the Wi-Fi's fault. I do have Wi-Fi. I always keep this Wi-Fi router in my bag backstage. It's pretty old now. I don't think you can get them anymore, but I like it because it's so bloody small. But this fills the entire theater, and all of my stuff works perfectly since I got this one. But I used to have a very, very old one, and I used an app called Epoch Cam. And Epoch Cam looks like this. And as soon as you connect your phone, I don't know if I have the app in here right now, and I do not have Wi-Fi. Yes, so I do have 3 different apps. To do this properly, you're going to want to get the paid version, which I believe is Multicam. And Multicam from Epoch has multiple phones you can do at the same time and project them into Qlab. So I would suggest using Epoch Cam for cool things like audience, volunteer reactions, all that kind of fun stuff. If it's anything super essential where the camera goes out that your routine is over, don't use them. Because I have had places where I walk too far, maybe 100, 200 feet away from the Wi-Fi, and it starts to freeze. Now, for an average person, if it freezes, it's probably not a big deal. But for a magician, when the camera freezes, people just go, during the frozen camera effect, you switched out the item. So I cannot use that anymore, but I did use it for about 3 years straight, and I didn't have any problems with it at all when I got the new Wi-Fi. And I still use it for one routine in my show for that prop effect where it doesn't matter if it freezes because they can still see it with their own eyes. So it is very, very cool. Then, of course, you can get a stand for your iPhone and just put it on stage. It's really, really cool. All you have to do is it connects automatically. So Epoch Cam, I'll try to remember to put that in my blog, but Epoch Cam is great for doing an additional live camera. And, of course, you can switch it with your front camera or your selfie camera, either one during the actual shot, which is pretty cool. One thing that was pretty funny is when I did Epoch Cam in my show is that I would give the kid the actual phone and say, "You're my camera person, my camera guy," and I would give it to him. Now I would turn his back away from the screen so he couldn't see what it was projecting, and he would film me. But see, if I turn my camera on right now, no matter which way you turn the camera, your image will always be in the correct view, right? Except that's not what Qlab sees, because there's one side that's the top and one side that's the bottom. So if you spin it, he sees you still perfectly straight, but you just flipped your image upside down over there. And so it was one of the comedy routines I did just by chance. I would spin it on purpose to put his back to the screen, and then I would say, "Film me," and the audience would start laughing because he's got me upside down, and in their mind, he is seeing me upside down but not correcting it, because they just assume that he's seeing the same thing on the screen. So I got a lot of comedy out of that just by turning the phone upside down and hand it to the kid. Once again, when I was doing the volunteers, I never knew how far back I'd have to go to find the volunteer that was going to be good. And if I'm going 200-300 feet in the back of the theater, there was a good chance I'd start to get really glitchy and freeze, because at the time my Wi-Fi was all the way backstage or in the booth. So that's something I wouldn't suggest doing. But yeah, Epoch Cam works great. Once again, you can then do multiple camera cues at the same time. So you could do 2 cameras. We're going to talk about that. That's right. So look at how that came in sideways. Not sideways. Look how that came in with a delay because the FaceTime camera hadn't started. So we can fire the camera and put it at 0 opacity. And then we can do a fade cue to bring the camera in at 100%. And if we stop, we can fire the camera cue, and now we can fire the cue in, and it instantly comes in automatically because the FaceTime camera was turned on in the computer and it was ready to go. So I always do fade-ins anyway. I do a snap out once in a while, but I'll never do a snap in. It just looks horrible. So that is a great way to do it. Of course, you'd want to make that full screen potentially, like so. Remember, you can keep your custom geometry on or off. And right now, it didn't make a difference because the camera is filming the same size of screen that I'm using here. However, if your surface is 4x3, you may want to keep your camera the right perspective and not stretch, make yourself look super tall. Okay, I usually keep a circle item like a can or a ball or something like that, and I show the camera before the show to make sure that the item isn't oblong, and I can correct that pretty quick. When it comes to doing multiple cameras, you could do something like this. You could do custom geometry, go here, put that in that corner. Now this camera, you could go into to camera patch number 2. Okay. Now to do a new camera patch, you would plug in your second device, right? Which I can do by unplugging the power for a second. If I plug in this second device, I don't physically have a camera attached to it, but in a couple seconds, you'll be able to see, hopefully, yep, a Blackmagic Ultra Studio mini recorder. You're going to choose that as your second camera. Now, when you go down here to the new camera, so let's label this cam. Cam 2, And let's label this cam 1. So camera 2, we're going to change the camera patch from 1 to 2, which is saying camera 2 is going to be the black magic. Okay. Now we're going to go custom geometry on that as well. Now, because I don't have a physical camera plugged into it right now, I'm just for demonstration purposes going to grab camera 2 patch and make that also the HD FaceTime camera. But just imagine it's coming from the second port. And then if I fire that one, I now have 2 versions, which could be multiple angles. And you can go to custom geometry, zoom that out, put that over there, and if you want to match the sizing, you can go here to camera 1 and see that it's 625, and we're going to go here and bring that up to 625, and now both cameras are the exact same size. And check this out, you can still put your rotating background image into there, as well as adding a very cool graphic in between. You can literally do so many layers. And look at that, goes on top, so you could literally, it looks so three-dimensional. And now you have multiple cameras at the same time. And this could be cameras on different parts of the stage. This could be great for a camera in the audience if you're interviewing somebody. The camera's in the audience, the other camera is still on the prop backstage. Or if you're doing a prediction routine and you want the camera to be filming the box, the entire routine, to show that no one's getting near it. Whatever you could possibly imagine, you can be doing that with a live camera shot. So there's one more step that you can do with making cameras look super unique, which I just started doing, but it's an entirely different chapter, and we will get to that later. It's called masking.